first round of local elections in this country. The French voting in a poll where the right is expected to make inroads. But in major cities, the left could hold its ground. Case in point, the capital, where we know one thing: the winner will be Paris's first ever female mayor.
The city's not big enough for the both of them. With Anne Hidalgo and Nathalie Kosciusko-Morizet leading the race for Paris's town hall, the battle's almost certain to throw up the French capital's first female mayor.
There's a local election to elect the mayor on March 23rd. I'm a candidate.
Opponents dub her the heiress. Socialist frontrunner Anne Hidalgo's already served 13 years as deputy mayor. A protégé of the outgoing Bertrand Delanoë, Hidalgo sought to distance herself from Socialist Party President François Hollande, his rock-bottom approval ratings, and national discontent over tax levels.
There won't be a rise in taxes over my first term because I think that the national tax level is already high enough, both for households and for businesses.
Hidalgo's made waves with plans to build council housing on Paris's upmarket Avenue Foch. The capital's billionaires' row is currently home to Arab royalty, Russian oligarchs and assorted African heads of state. The socialist campaign poster, apparently heavily retouched, has also come in for ridicule. One PR expert said it resembled an advert for anti-wrinkle cream. Rival Nathalie Kosciusko-Morizet is credited with showing a younger, more modern side to the French right wing. The one-time protégé of ex-President Nicolas Sarkozy as a former environment minister, popularly known as NKM, the candidates pledged to cut local taxes while persuading Paris's best and brightest against fleeing abroad to cities like London and New York.
We have an outgoing administration that's given up. They're looking for excuses. I'm looking for solutions.
NKM faces a challenge from her own political party, businessman Charles Bigbede launching a rival right-wing list. Her campaign has also run into repeated PR blunders. A photo taken in 2005 earned the candidate the nickname the Harpist, allowing opponents to cast Kosciusko-Morizet as overprivileged and out of touch. NKM's efforts to come across as just another Parisian fell flat. Unable to give the price of a metro ticket in a radio interview, her campaign photos also failed to hide a €2,000 luxury handbag in the basket of a rentable city bike. With political commentators arguing that the two candidates differ very little on policy, the heiress and the harpist have sought to outdo each other with outlandish development projects. Hidalgo's proposed floating swimming pools on the River Seine. Kosciusko-Morizet suggested converting abandoned metro stations into theatres. For Paris's voters, housing, transport and crime levels are the top priorities.
We say all politics are local, so we've brought in Joshua Melvin from the local.fr. Welcome.
Thanks to be here. Glad to be here.
When you look at these two candidates and you think of who ran the city of Paris in years past, remember it was a springboard to the presidency. Jacques Chirac, before he became president of France, for a long time was mayor. It was these old barons, you could say, who used to run the city. And you see these two candidates, it seems very local.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing about both of them is they're focusing on quality of life issues in Paris or big projects in Paris. I mean, they seem to really be focused on what voters are interested in this year.
And the voters have changed. They're older, more what they call here Bohemian bourgeois, bobos.
Yeah, Paris is going steadily up market, isn't it? The concerns of people eventually, when you have a little bit of money and you have a little bit of property, your concerns change a little bit. What you're interested in the leadership doing is not the same when you're sort of a young artist or kind of non-professional type work.
And that's the confusing bit. Gentrification has meant that the left has come to power.
Well, I would say in Paris it's a very lefty town. I mean, it's kind of the
didn't used to be. At one point there are 20 districts in Paris, and at one point almost all of them were right wing.
Well, yeah, but the way I see it is there's a strong working class here, or there was, and it's a town of thinkers and writers and creatives, and so that's generally a pretty receptive audience for left messages.
Now, we saw in that report how on the issues of substance, there's little difference between the two. On the campaign trail, what would you say is the difference between them?
Well, what we see with Miss Hidalgo is that she is more of the same in some regards. I mean, not in a bad way. It's just that's the truth.
She was deputy mayor before.
Right, and she's been in City Hall since 2001, and a lot of what she's selling herself with on the campaign trail is, look what we've already done for you. NKM obviously is coming out of, she's challenging her. She's saying that, these things, what you're doing is not right. She's talking about Paris's big construction projects and things. She's threatening all that. And so the thing is that you see the fundamental difference is just one of them is a challenger, and she's got new ideas.
So there isn't much difference, in other words.
It's hard to find it sometimes.
Hard to find it. And the polls suggest that the incumbent, I'm calling her the incumbent, even though she hasn't been the mayor, of course, up to now, holds the lead. And is she shooting?
It looks pretty good. We saw the last poll 2 weeks ago from IFSOP, and it was 53%. I mean, she was in, but anything can happen. I mean, there's if one thing is we've seen in the past 2 weeks, I mean, there's just been nonstop political action. I mean, just surprises falling out of the sky left and right.
And surprises also come. You say falling out of the sky. That's we could take that literally, because just as you had Hurricane Sandy just before the 2012 re-election of Barack Obama, you had this wave of unprecedented pollution in the capital that came a couple of weeks ago. The way they dealt with it was they decided on alternate days for cars, with whether you had even or odd numbered plates to drive in the city. There was a lot of toing and froing. How much is the environment an issue here?
It's funny, at least amongst our readers, it seems it's already passed. When it was happening, I mean, when the maximum alerts were going out and traffic was being curbed, it was everywhere. I mean, the response we were getting was enormous. And then as it started to clear up, it just seemed so did the concern. It just disappeared. So I think people are still interested, but not certainly to the degree they were when they were kind of coughing and hacking it up.
So when you speak to your readers, when you see what stories that they're interested in, what's your gut feeling? Do they hark back for the days of old? What the big criticism being that a lot of people say too many people want to see Paris as a museum, or do they want radical change in the city?
I would say probably the former. I don't hear a lot of cries for change. I think people come here because they like the way it is, at least for our audience. The things that they get upset about are when people meddle. Take the example of Lovelocks. We recently had an opinion piece written by rather impassioned reader.
Paris copying what Rome did and having those Lovelocks and other cities, and they've
not exactly. They were upset that there were too many of them. That it was sort of uglying up the beautiful face of Paris. And so I mean, I feel like that's kind of a theme for the people that come here for it's a known quantity.
They want to see the Paris of old.
That's right. Or they want to see it as they want to see the Paris that drew them here.
They want to see the Paris that drew them here. Is Paris changing, though?
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at the distribution of wealth in the city, I mean, for a certain part of the city is getting much more wealthy, and a certain part of the city is not. So, it's changing the face of it. I mean, if you just look at the difference between, just like République, the areas that have become kind of young and boboish, I mean, those were areas that 10 years ago they could be scary, if you were a certain kind of person at a certain time of day.
Nowadays, it's gentrified.
There is an American Apparel store there, which is sort of a brand. I think there's none that are better associated with the kind of idea of a hipster than that. And, times are different.
Times are different. We'll be watching, of course, these elections closely. You'll be providing coverage, I suspect, as well.
We will. Sunday night, yes.
All right. So Sunday night online with the local or on television with France 24. Many thanks, Joshua Melvin, for being with us here. Stay with us. Much more to come at the bottom of the hour on France 24. We'll have more news, the day's business, and sports. We'll tell all about the Champions League, team from the capital of Paris, all wanting to get its first ever Champions League trophy. Today was the draw. They'll be facing Chelsea in the quarterfinals. Stay with us.